For those of you who are currently on, please let me know if audio is audible. And I said I'll start at 1:30, so I'm gonna start at 1:30. Whether there is only 3 of you or if there is 13. All right, looks like it is 1:30. What is up, all 5 of you who are in here? I appreciate you taking the time out.
Okay, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. What's up with
your
your feedback
on the
on the
audio?
audio? Bad, good, what? Loud?
Not
Not loud enough? What? Testing?
Is
Is there still an echo right now?
Is
Is there still echo right now? Okay. Let's see here. Do you hear anything now? No? Hello? Still no audio right now? Gosh, this is so annoying. Hello? Hello, hello. Yes or no sound. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Alright, so I'm going to just try to go ahead and start right now I'm just running through OBS, and I don't even know if this mic is working right now. Like if I move this mic over here, it's still working. Right now I'm just running through OBS, and I don't even know if this mic is working right now. Like if I move this mic over here, it's still working. Yeah, so I was probably just getting audio from my computer right now, and before it was definitely connected to my microphone here at the same time. So if this mic isn't terrible, I'm gonna just go with this, and I'll figure out. Yeah, so I was probably just getting audio from any other issues later. Unfortunately, this audio is going to be straight trash. It's probably not going to sound as good, but my kids aren't home, so this is how we're going to do it. So there's not going to be a bunch of like noise coming through otherwise. Yeah, so exactly, it sounds like I'm in a tin can. I mean, I have like the desktop audio disconnected, so I don't know what the hell the issue is.
Still massive echo, I'm assuming. I'm gonna test. All right, I think I figured it out. So there should be no more issues with audio right now. It better not be, or I'm gonna throw my computer into the wall. All right, great. So I'm just clearly I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so I should just quit YouTube and stop giving people advice on the internet. But I appreciate everyone joining in and giving me the feedback on the audio. The reason why I'm having these issues because I'm trying to be able to feature you all, as I'm going through um, the chat. Because my first live last time, I was basically reading off people's questions, and at least this way, I can, you know, start featuring your messages and your questions. So then I have to like repeat myself or repeat the questions every time. And I appreciate you, Nash Hall 694 in Australia at 5:37 in the morning. That is wild. That some douchebag in Maryland, United States, is having this kind of attention from someone across the planet. Hello from Russia, bro. I watch your videos like a stand-up show. I really want to switch to Panasonic, but I've invested too much in Sony. Honestly, like I said from last time, you don't really have to be switching anything. Like, there's nothing wrong with Sony system. If it's giving you the image that you want and you're able to deliver, uh, then just stick with it. You know what I mean? Um, Van Gogh, God bless you. So yeah. So yep. Um, my original idea for this video was, or this live was, basically just one, just trying to connect with you all, and then the other thing is just letting you know what's going on with my life, my YouTube, and all that bull crap. Um, I recently strained my back, and I've been taking like, Aleve, which is pain medication. Not a big deal. It was just like a slight back strain. And then I was looking for my standard Aleve medication. I couldn't find it, but I found another Aleve in my medicine cabinet. It was Aleve for back pain. So it was literally advertised for back pain. So I was taking that and I was just looking at like the what do you call it? The information in the back. And then coincidentally, I found the normal Aleve. They're all the same. Like there's nothing different between the two medications other than one was gel and one was labeled as back and muscle pain. But the actual ingredient is exactly the same. So like, wow, look at that Lumix autofocus getting in on that. So these are the two bottles of Aleve. And they kind of got me thinking. So this is how my mind works is I look at things, it's basically 24/7 like this. I always see something and then I look at it and my mind is always thinking about random crap and then I somehow analyze it to relate to cameras. And then I already knew this before, but then with the medication example, it kind of made things really obvious. So, 2020, 2025 just went by. It's a new year and people were discussing, camera of the year, cinema camera of the year, this, that, and the other. And basically what I was, yeah, talking about blue pills. What's going on, Cam? Basically, it just made me realize that labeling what a camera is kind of bullshit. So I saw the Nikon ZR1, I think, from some publications, cinema camera of the year. And then I'm just kind of like, what makes a camera a cinema camera? And then is it that it is used for in Hollywood productions? Is it a box camera with a bunch of inputs and a bunch of buttons for uh, a set and everything, works, with everything else, sound and all that? Or is it just branding on the camera? And then so obviously everyone knows I switched to Lumix S1 Mark II from Sony and I was using Sony FX3, which based on, I guess, the criteria of branding, the FX3 is technically more of a cinema camera than a Lumix S1 Mark II because it has cinema on it. So if the FX3 had like modern 2025 specs and it would have, could have potentially been cinema camera of the year or something like that, which is complete bullcrap because it actually doesn't have cinema features like an ARRI Alexa or, the only thing cinema about the Nikon ZR to me is the fact that it has like red raw, but other than that, like the body is what it is. So basically, if Lumix put cinema on the S1 Mark II, like as it is, it says Lumix Cinema S1 Mark II, it would have won cinema camera of the year. So again, when it comes to anything in marketing, cameras, what have you, it's all bullcrap. And people shouldn't buy cameras based on what it is marketed for, but like based on your own analyzation or analytics or based on your own analysis of what the camera is capable of doing, what you need it to do. And if it works for you, you get that. Like, don't just get a camera because the brand is saying that it's made for cinema or whatever bullcrap. And I'm curious about what your thoughts on that because again, this is just my opinion. Some of you probably work on what do you call it, sets and stuff. More than me. Like all I do is YouTube crap, film weddings, I film corporate commercials. That's about it. I don't work on sets and all that stuff. So like, if you have an opinion on that, let me know what that is. Have you seen the video about converting Lumix ProRes RAW with Canon color space? I did see that. Um, some dude. Gosh, I can't remember all these people's names because like it seems like every day I'm fed a bunch of YouTube videos, and it's nothing from people that I subscribe to. It's literally just a bunch of uh, new dudes with under 5,000 subscribers, but are posting videos of things that I've been watching. Um, so yeah, I saw that, and I mean, it's pretty interesting. Something I'd have to try out for myself to look at the colors, but he was really into the skin tones, really into the tones of the sky. Um, I'm kind of not the type of person who like goes in and want to get perfect skin tones and perfect white balance and all that stuff. I just kind of go like, hey, if I'm trying to set a mood for a scene, if the mood, if it fits the mood that I'm going for and it looks good to me, I really don't care where things falls on like charts and all that stuff. Um, Maybe that's sometimes that makes my videos look unprofessional or whatever, but to me, like if there's blue on someone's skin, because there's a blue light there, it kind of makes sense. I'm not going to go out of my way to like remove the blue light off the person's skin. As long as the entire scene works for what I'm trying to do, then I don't really care. Putting aside the brand shield stuff, a cinema camera is a camera that does video only. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, it's cool. That's your opinion, but um, is that loud enough for you? Is this audio better or what? This I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to fix the audio for you. Um, do you need recommendations to go to a doctor to check your ears, or you know, I could ask my wife. She's a nurse. I mean, she knows some doctors. I don't know about where you live, but let's see here. Pretty standard meeting in the industry. Yeah, again, industry, right? Gatekeeping. People coming up with definitions for whatever. Like you need to fit this criteria to be able to do this. You need to have this gear to do that. At the end of the day, I could make a freaking movie with my phone, my Google Pixel trash camera phone, if I wanted to, as long as the story works and you know it does the job of telling a story, right? But I think I think what defines a camera, what it is the hands you put it in. Like if you put a camera in my hands, it could be a freaking our Alexa. It's still like a YouTube douchebag camera. It's not a cinema camera. But if you take like a Lumix S1 Mark II and put it into like Christopher Nolan's hands, now that's a 100% cinema camera. I don't think the label of the camera or what it does says anything about it. There clearly, there's obvious things about each camera that you could say, okay, yeah, that's more suitable for cinema camera. But I could go back and say, well, you know, FX3 was popular for shooting the crater. I mean, they could have used a Blackmagic camera for that. They could use a Lumix GH5 for that. Also, it doesn't matter. It's just a camera is what it is, and the hands you put it in. That again, that's just my opinion. Hi, did you try the Sigma 28105 for your? If it's Sigma, it's gonna be solid autofocus. I've never used a Sigma camera, Sigma lens that had bad autofocus. To me, they perform very much like Sony G Master lenses. So I'm pretty sure the 28-105 is no different. The only down thing is that it's pretty heavy. It's 3 pounds. And I think I just didn't like the way it looked based on like reviews. Like I was watching some people's reviews and they're showing image from it, and it just looked too sterile for me. Like for example, like 2845, although it's limiting and not about just like the 1.8, but I feel like it just has a lot more character to it. The 28-105 is like just this really sterile looking lens, but I mean it's versatile. I got two FX30 about 15 months ago. It was a good camera for me, but I did get FX30 because of the cinema. Yeah, so, you know, it all depends what you do. Like FX30, to me, it's good because it has a fan, but it honestly doesn't do anything more than like a ZVE 10 II. You know, it's a ZVE 10 II with a fan with CineEI in it. But if you know what you're doing, you go out there, you could film whatever, it's going to look exactly the same as an FX30. Now, that's Sony. Canon is a different beast, as I saw C50 versus R6 Mark III, and the R6 Mark III was a lot more dirty looking than the C50. Like it was a lot more noisy. It's a completely different image, even though it seems like it's the same sensor. The C50 and the R6 III has a completely different image. The C50 is just way better looking image. Get the manufacturer definition is cinema camera like Red RS. Yeah, again, it's just branding. 100% correct on what the cinema stuff. You know, I was just kidding. So, you know, if you follow me, you know, I was just talking shit just to mess around. You know, what I'm trying to do here is treat you all like my boys, my friends that I hang out with. So if I shit on you, that means I'm just trying to be cool with you. Like with my friends, when we're hanging out, all we do is just shit on each other for 3 hours straight. You know, so that's just it is. So if you got offended that, you know, I told him he need to go see a doctor and everything, you know, then just, we probably aren't that cool. You know, it is what it is. Still not upgrading yet, though. Still learning cinematography. I mean, like, FX30 should be able to do everything you can. You know what I mean? You know, most people, like probably even me, to be honest, like I probably don't need anything more than the FX30. It's just, I like to play around with things. I like this tech stuff. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate you liking my wedding videos. I wish clients would value my wedding videos for my pricing instead of telling me that it's out of their budget. But what can I do about that? Could you please tell me if I need to upgrade my laptop to work H2? I have a no, you should not. M3 should be able to handle H.265, 422, no problem. 5.1K 60 frames per second is actually only 420 for on Lumix, and most cameras, most decent computers will be able to handle that 5.1K 60 frames per second 420 no problem. And it's funny because I saw a lot of like Sony fanboys joining on Lumix S1 Mark II for not doing OpenGate 422 when I know over half of the Sony users I've ever talked to, they actually shoot H.265 420 because it is easier on their computer. The processor load at 6K seems to be much higher. I'll tell you this right now. My computer is a freaking gaming laptop. Is a Lenovo Legion with a 58 RTX 5080. And it has no problems editing the H.265 It may struggle with 422. If it's like really intense editing, I got like a bunch of color grades on it and stuff like that. But I think you should be fine on your M3, because as far as the Apple M processors are really good with like H.265 encoding, whatever you want to call it. I would just buy S1 Mark II. I don't know. Your B cam, if you could afford it, should be another S1 Mark II. If not, S1 Mark IIe. If you want cheaper, S5 2X, just as you said. I would not go to GH7 unless you have a bunch of like Micro Four Thirds. It's like a completely different lens mount. But I have S1 Mark IIe, and it's a great camera. But S1 Mark II and S1 R2 does a little bit additional to the image that you notice that it's better, but your client won't. And it should be easier for you to match the colors. I actually have no problems matching Lumix with Sony. So when I do wedding films and stuff like that, my second shooters, they have like FX3, A7S3, like poverty cameras. And, I match colors with those, no problem too. So it's, if you're gonna stick with L mount glass, then just get the L mount, like S1 IIe and S5 2X. I mean, if money's not a problem, I get the S1 Mark IIe. There's better body, the screen, 4K. It has 4K 60, mostly full frame, like full frame width. I think like the extra features on it is worth it, and it seems like the price was going down. Oh yeah. I was just playing, so I thought I figured you'd understand, um, considering you're not only watching my live, you know, you subscribed and you watched to my live. So I'm gonna assume people who don't go on these lives, they're not going to, they subscribe, but they don't really care that much about me, in terms of my personality. But I'm assuming if you're gonna be on here live, you know my personality. Um, I got two FX30s too. I do weddings, and it's more than, yeah, of course. Um, you know, I mean, honest, depending how you shoot, like ZVE 10.2 is enough. Um, you know, an A7 III is enough. There's a plenty of, you could do 1080p and then just render to 4K and it's enough. Most people don't really notice the difference, but um, as you get into it and you're the one editing the dang videos all the time, you're looking at all the imperfections, then that's when it becomes not enough. But um, most modern cameras is enough for work. What's the difference between the mic you're using now and just live streaming with wireless labs like your Lark Max 2? The Lark Max 2 is going to capture more like exterior noise. So like if my kids come home, or my wife is asking me about something from upstairs or something like that, you're going to hear that. These mics, the reason why podcasts and stuff uses mics, because it does not capture sound like from basically from here onwards. So when you have two people talking in the same room, you're only going to get one person's sounds from one mic. So it avoids, I guess, echoing and all that crap. It's more isolating. That's why, I got to put the mic up to my face like I'm about to deep throat it. Kind of like how Sony fanboys like to deep throat everything that Sony releases. It's just released A7 V with A7S3 2020 specs. I just open their mouth on it. I am planning to buy a new camera, Lumix S1II / Sony FX3. Can you share your experience with this camera? I mean, I've shared it a lot, bro. In like multiple videos. I have a whole playlist on my channel called Everything Lumix S1II. So it covers like my switch and all that stuff. Um, Lumix S1II is just a better camera. You know, if you want to do some photos, it's better than that. If you want to do video, it's better. And again, it's 5 years newer. And, you know, Lumix is a company that's loading everything they can into their cameras. Sony kind of just gives you what they think you need. But I would go with Lumix S1II if you're planning to buy anything. And just go through my playlist of stuff on my channel and you'll see. I currently have the GH6. Not sure about which full frame camera is good as a B cam. I'm kind of confused. If you have a GH6, that's Micro Four Thirds. Why would you want to switch? Why would you want a full frame camera to be your B cam? I think if I were going to go full frame, that will become my main cam, and the GH6 becomes the B cam. I guess you're not even talking to me, and I'm answering your question. Still trying to flush that Sony, but it is a real floaty. Any advice on how to make it flush? You're talking about the let me show you video where I flushed the toilet. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe beat it up a little bit more so you could flush it down. Should I choose a Nikon Z5 Mark II, Nikon 24, or the Sony? Shit. Bro, like, this is tough, man. I never used a Nikon in my life. So it's really hard for me to give you a recommendation. The Sony A6700 will be perfectly fine for you. If I was going to recommend you a lens, I would probably go for if you could afford it, the Sigma 17-40 f1.8, 17-40 f1.8 versus the 18-50 f2.8. If that's your budget and that's what you want to stick to, or if it seems like you're going A6700, so you never really consider overheating. I don't know if they sell Lumix over there, but if you want, in my opinion, the best APS-C camera for video will be the Lumix S9. You get it for around $1,000 US, and you get any of those Sigma lenses on L mount as well. And from the charts, the S9 has better rolling shutter, better dynamic range than Sony A6700. I'm not sure about the Nikon, but it has better dynamic range than the Fuji APS-C cameras for video. So plus, if you do have a full frame on that, even though I'm recommending it to use as an APS-C video camera, you can still do full frame stuff if you want to. And I don't know if they even sell Lumix like that in Vietnam. Okay. If you want to do Micro Four Thirds, then go Micro Four Thirds. But I would just, I'm a douchebag, man. Just go full frame anytime you can. I have a real hard time grading love. It depends what kind of LUT you're using. You just have, and your camera. You just gotta make sure you look. I know everyone's, there's LUTs people always tell you to buy, and phantom LUTs, and then there's YouTube douchebag LUTs, and then there's LUTs all over the place. Gerald Undone LUTs. You do realize manufacturer like Sony, Lumix, they have free LUTs for you to download. If you're on Lumix, you could download a bunch of LUTs for the VariCam. It's free, and it's, in my opinion, looks really good. Just drag and drop. Like you don't even have to do much to it. Sony has like a whole lineup of free S-Log3 LUTs, and some of them were built out by like cinematographers and stuff, completely free. And some of the ones I tested, it's pretty much just drag and drop. And then if you want to adjust, make little adjustments to white balance or whatever, you could do that. But it's, you know, it's not complicated. Um, and then once you get your footage looking decent, then you could start digging into like, you know, deep editing, deep color grading and all that stuff. But there's plenty of LUTs that are free from the manufacturer that will get your footage looking really good right off the bat. What's your preferred picture? Right now I'm using Vlog. I know a lot of people like the Arilog C, but I'm just using the Vlog because it's easier to match that, in my opinion, with like other cameras like S-Log and all that stuff. It's simple. No problem. I was searching for videos to help me decide which is better, Sony FX3 or A7S III, and I see you're live. Yeah, so for video, let's go with the Sony FX3. Not only like they're kind of close in price, but FX3 is going to hold its value better, and it just has better overall features for video. Like I think it has, you know, shutter angle. It has Cine EI, which I appreciated using. You know, I was able to switch from base ISOs really quickly. Yeah, I would get the FX3. Gear just makes our jobs easier. I had the fortune to cover a Mexican wedding in Italy with A7S2 and A6300. Yeah, like 2018. Yeah, that's what I was rolling with. I think like A7 III or something like that, and you know, looks decent back then and still looks fine now. Props on the channel, appreciate it. I always shoot in log. I will always, like, ever since I started filming in log, I only film in log. I will not film with anything else. It's basically, I value dynamic range. I want to be able to get all the information in the highlights and the shadows. One of the biggest things when I look at footage from anywhere and it just completely tells me that it's, I don't want to say unprofessional, but like I guess lower tier, is when highlights are blown out and shadows are completely crushed. Basically like old school, like Canon standard picture profile. So I know a lot of like Canon shooters like Canon color signs. So then they just stick with like standard picture profile. But the standard picture profile, you got like clipped highlights and crushed shadows all over the place, and it just looks like trash in my opinion. But again, all this is my opinion. It's not objective truth or anything, but yeah, like log will always give you a more cinema look because in cinema, I'm 100% sure they shoot in raw or log or something like that. Our Alexa has like 18 stops at dynamic range or something. So details in the highlights and details in the shadows are usually like telltale signs to me of cinema look. Now my A-cam is S1 Mark II. My GH6 is my old cam. Okay, gotcha. The S9 is a great investment for content creators. Why is that? It's small, it's light, it has autofocus, it has open gate, it has everything you need to be a good content creator. It is probably within its price is probably the best camera for content creation. I mean, What is an A6700 like? $1,400. S9 is under that, and it's also full frame. And video quality is better in APS-C mode. So I don't see why it's not a good investment. What do you use as a storage solution at the moment for your videos? How long do you keep waiting footage? Right now, I have a bunch of hard drives. I have two 20 terabyte standard, slow Asian women driving hard drives. Very slow, but they store a lot. And I have like 10 4 terabyte external drives. Would that work well for me earlier on when files were a lot smaller, like an A7III and all that? And I also got a NAS or NAS Sync or whatever system from Ugreen that I got in exchange for a video on YouTube and sponsorship, whatever. So I have one of those sitting at my house. Yeah, that's how I store like old stuff, and I never deleted anything from since I started. So like I have footage from back in like 2015. But like for editing, I just put them in SSDs. So right now I have like a 4 terabyte external like Samsung SSD. I have 4 terabytes SSD like built into my laptop. So like new fresh projects go into those SSDs, and when they're done, they go into like the slower hard drive. You should just go for the FX3 if you are trying to go into your business, video. But right now, if you want to spend FX3 money and you're not fully invested in Sony, I would go Lumix S1II over and over and over again. Nikon Z5II is a beast, underrated camera. What makes it a beast? I don't know why I haven't really paid attention to it that much. Sorry for being a douchebag and chewing ice, but I have a thing for chewing ice. I think it has something to do with ADHD or something like that. In some YouTube videos, I saw the Lumix S1II's color has. It's a really weird thing, because when I first started playing with the Lumix S1II Vlog, it leaned more green to me than the FX3. So unless the FX3 is super magenta, I just don't know how this is happening. And, I don't know if it's. Here's the thing about colors. It's not just a sensor, but lenses have like a big effect on colors as well. So, for example, like a lot of these Samyang primes that I had would lean a lot more green than like a Sony GM lens on E-mount. So a lot of like these camera comparisons I've been doing between Lumix and Sony when I was like trying to like pixel peep for myself, I made sure I used like the same lens. So like a lot of like the autofocusing tests or image quality tests, I used the same lens for both cameras. So like I'd have like a 7 Artisans 35 millimeter for E mount, but I also have a 7 Artisans 35 millimeter for L mount, and of the same like generation, same exact lens, just for different mounts. Because I know like the actual performance of the camera relies also heavily on lenses. So like, you can't be comparing. It's tough to sit there and try to you get like a Lumix 24-60 and then compare it versus Sony with like a 20 470 GM Mark II or something like that. First of all, it's like a huge different price difference in lenses, and then there's difference in sharpness and colors and all that stuff from the lens itself. So yeah, like colors are easily manipulated, so like I don't really like dive too deep into that. Hello, Vu. I am a wedding videographer in Bulgaria and Europe. What is the price range for 8 to 10 hours of coverage? Really depends on deliverables, but here in the United States, 8 hours of coverage with two of us, plus a 5 to 7 minute like edited short film, along with like a full ceremony and full reception speech video, I charge 5,000 US. Do you have any partnerships agreements with Lumix yet for being an advocate? No, I do not. I do not have any. I'm not like a Lumix creator, ambassador. The only reason why I advocate is because of my opinion, like not my opinion, but like my use, right? So when I use something and I like it, I will talk about it and I'll advocate for it, mainly because I've experienced good things with it, right? I'll tell you this right now, like as soon like if my Lumix S1II like all of a sudden just shut down and stopped working tomorrow, you'll be the first to hear about it. You know, if it, you know, maybe I'll probably contact Lumix first and let them know what's going on. But if it happens a second time to Lumix, then yeah, I'm gonna have to say something. It's like if Sony was trash, like Sony cameras sucked and trash and overheated all the time, I would tell you. Same thing as if my Lumix cameras overheated and was trash all the time, I would tell you. But right now, based on my experience, like Lumix has been so good. And, you know, the reason why I want people to know more about this is because Lumix has a very small market share amongst video creators and photographers, right? And the more market share they get, the more things that I would benefit from, as there will be more accessories available for Lumix. There will be more lenses available for L mount, because brands are not going to invest time trying to create more lenses and accessories for Lumix if it's more profitable for them to do it for Sony, because there's so many Sony users out there to buy their stuff. So I only recommend Lumix really because I know it will be good for you. Based on my use, I know it will be good for my viewers. And then two, the more users there are, it will benefit me because there'll be more accessories and other things I could buy for the camera. Thanks for your answer. I love your videos. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Cinema cameras by definition are at least 20K. So you get this 20K cinema camera, you put it in the hands of some D-bag on YouTube. Is it still a cinema camera? The S1R2 and 40 have the same sensor, and both can sometimes have a magenta cast depending on how light hits them. I think it might be, yeah. Cam, you would know more about that stuff than I do, so I would, say that's probably likely it. And I think there's like this company that sells like these magnetic filters that you could actually stick directly onto the back, on the sensor, and it'll stick there. So you could get like OLPF and just put it there, and it'll just stay there forever. I mean, you could remove it, but it will just stay there. I forgot what the brand was. I don't know. They're not sponsoring this channel or anything, so I'm not going to mention them. Bulgaria has a very different economy compared to England, Germany, for example, so that's quite hard to say, actually. Oh, never mind. That's not for me. Nikon ZR hack for changing your red NE files to H2. This thing, but now getting file sizes of H2. Yeah, I'm trying to understand, because I don't have a ZR. I don't know anything about it, but I'm trying to understand how that would work. But does it compress it to H265? Because I thought the cool thing about red raw files is that you could sit there and like change the settings, like, in the shadows and highlights and all that crazy stuff. But if it's an H.265, it's already a compressed file. Like, can you still do those things? And then with regards to the colors, like, can you just do like a color space? I don't know. Thanks, but you definitely deserve more for your work. All the best. I appreciate that. I think I deserve for my is Vu a believer of 3D pop? I don't know. I don't know if I've seen it. I think 3D pop can be edited. You know what I mean? Like, like what? When it comes to lenses, I probably prefer them to look kind of unique and stuff more than like some type of contrast or pop or something like that. It's just, there's a lot of ways you could get something to pop, like, add contrast, you know, color grade the image to have complementary colors in the shadows and highlights, like, I don't know, this probably is a thing, but, I guess I don't notice it. It's kind of like micro contrast too. Like, I don't have the eye for it. Like, I can't tell what the hell, I don't even know what the hell it is. Micro contrast and all that stuff. Like, to me, if it looks good, it looks good, Thoughts on the FX30? I made a bunch of videos in FX30. I mean, it's a great camera. It's Sony. You got a bunch of lenses. But I also know that you get a cheaper camera that has better image quality. Lumix on L-mount S9 or even S1II or something like that, and just buy APS-C lenses and you'll see. One tip in ProRes with Lumix S1II input color space DaVinci. Yeah, I saw that. I think there's this video that you're talking about in terms of the magenta stuff and the ProRes RAW stuff. I haven't really used ProRes RAW at all yet. I've just been shooting on H.265 Vlog, so. Is the Lumix 2460 lens a good choice to buy? Which are the best lenses for Lumix? This is really broad stuff, but yes, the 2460 is good. But so is the Sigma 24 to 70 f 2.8 DGDN. DN stands for D's Nuts Mark II. I mean, it really depends on what you're doing. Like, are you trying to film events where you need run and gun? You need like super fast autofocus all the time? Like, basically any L-mount Sigma lens could do that. I don't think there's much. They're all good. Like even these 7 Artisans prime lenses are good. They might have like some issues with flaring because their coatings aren't that great. But like if in the right situations, they're all good looking lenses with good autofocus. So, depends what your needs are. When I found out that Lumix had good autofocus, that was pretty much it. And of course they had full frame 4K 60, which I used a lot for this work that I do. But I know Lumix has always been the more video centric, load up video features brand, ever since I started this in 2014. So the only thing that held me back from them was autofocus, and then later on 4K 60 full frame. But now not only they have 4K 60 full frame, they have 5.1K 60 full frame open gate in 3x2, and the autofocus is just as good for me as Sony is. In a lot of cases it has worked better than Sony for me. So that's what made me like switch. Okay. There's this hack. You can end raw extension file to red. Do you still use 2045 a lot Sigma on the S1II, or you changed? No, I still use it. I still have the 28 to 45. I have been using the Samyang 35 to 150 a lot for some weddings, just because like the reach, it's like really versatile with that reach, and it has really nice image. It's not like crazy sharp, especially zooming in. So then like I don't have to use like a mist filter or anything like that. Yeah, again, I'm probably just like a piece of trash. Oh, it has not been changing this whole time? What the? Well, I am a piece of trash because I haven't really been looking at this. I've just been looking at the comments, and I've been thinking that every time I've been clicking on someone's comment, that OBS is throwing up the. Okay, clearly it has not been working. So, hold on one second here. For the love of God. So I guess I just leave this screen like this, and hopefully it'll do what I want here in terms of like putting everyone's comments up. See? It's hilarious that we hear an echo is still the comment on the screen. All right. Clearly, I am a piece of shit when it comes to live streaming. I need to improve, or else I'm going to just, I just need to start doing TikTok or something, like, because apparently YouTube is not for me with my trash, tube doucher ass, giving people recommendations on camera gear and shit, and I can't even get my live stream proper with the proper freaking overlays, audio echoing. It's just ridiculous. The questions are not coming on screen anymore. Has it been at all the whole time? I'm sitting there just answering questions without letting people know the context of the question. I am using primarily Nisi JetMag, even though Nisi hates my guts because of, they didn't like my video of using my Vietnamese accent because it, wasn't on brand with them, and that people might get offended or something. I don't know. I bought the Freewell locking kit. Thanks if you yet haven't used it yet. That's pretty wild, bro. You probably should have not bought it and just bought it when you're ready to use it. I found that in 4K 120 frames per second it is much better image without noise and darker. We've been looking for a pinned comment the whole time. Yeah, again, I apologize for being a piece of trash at this live streaming thing. Like, I'm trying to make sure that I can answer questions quickly without having to like read questions off, and seems like this is the best way to do it. There's probably a better way to do this. Maybe I'm just going like a roundabout way of trying to get this thing, done. Um, but yeah, there's probably a better way than what I'm doing right now. Is RE log C and Lumix really useful? I mean, there's a big difference with vlog and RE-log. And I would probably say that with vlog, I think the way they do noise reduction and stuff like that on vlog looks better for low light stuff from like, not from my own testing, but some videos I've seen. And blame OBS. Yeah, that comment. Yep. All right, camera. I've noticed that. I'll be honest with you. I like watching his content. It's funny. But the guy switches his camera, like his opinions on cameras. He switches opinions on basically everything, every aspect of his life, more often than a hardcore leftist switches their gender. It's like all over the place, Like I watch him for a month. Guy's on Sony ZV-1 and it's the best camera in the world. Then 2 weeks later, the guy is now on Nikon and that's the best camera ever and Sony's trash. And then the next month, dude is on Lumix. And then the next month, whatever. The thing is about this open gate thing, and it's not just him, but it's a lot of people. If you don't use it, fine. If you don't care for it, fine. There's a lot of other people who are using it. It's like someone coming up to me and saying, so-and-so doesn't eat rice because there's an article that said rice contains some amounts of arsenic in it. I don't give a shit. Rice is good to me because clearly I'm of rice-eating descent. So if you don't like rice, that's not my problem. I eat it. Who the hell cares? It's just, I wouldn't have even bothered saying anything about OpenGate until people start running their mouth. People running their mouth without good reasons for running their mouth. And then, all of a sudden when I start saying something about it, people start getting mad and offended. It is what it is. Do you run any of your Sony cameras from time to time? Also, if you could do it all over again, what would be your top 5? I only have one Sony camera right now. I have the Sony A7II. And I mean, I don't know what you mean by that, but like in terms of cameras that I've used and how it has impacted like video work in the moment, like right now, obviously the best camera in my opinion is S1 Mark II. But if you're looking at like cameras that has affected my career in the moment when it was released and when I purchased it, I mean the A7S3 would have had like the biggest effect because that was something as a Sony user we're waiting for so long. Like in terms of like impactful in terms of, my career. But then like not too long after that, I sold it for an FX3 because FX3 had LUT display. Like Sony A7S3 allowed you to shoot log, but then you had to use the built-in like gamma assist, which just kind of changed the footage on the monitor to Rec 709. But Sony FX3 had like this firmware update that enabled you to load in your LUTs to monitor LUTs. And I was like, damn, I literally switched just for that, because that feature alone helps so much with proper exposure. You know, and then I would say the next most impactful is the S1 Mark II, because the fact that it was so good that I was willing to switch everything over. And then, A7 III, like A6500 from back in the day, those are pretty impactful. So, yeah, but in terms of just like the best cameras ever used or something, it will be Lumix S1 Mark II, FX3, A7S3, A7 IV. I mean, I guess technically I think the A7 V is better than the FX3 for video. So in terms of like the footage, so we're talking about S1 Mark II, A7 V, FX3, A7S3, A7 IV. Happy New Year to you too. The DJI drone ban effect has not affected me in any way, because I do have a drone, but I really don't fly it that often. I only fly it when I need to, and I don't need to fly it often. I really don't care for like drone shots. Like, I don't go out and just try and get drone shots, because it doesn't do anything for me. It's just, oh, nice aerial shot. For what? Do you record on SSD or cards? I do both. There was a time when I first got the Lumix S1 Mark II, and I didn't really have any overheating issues yet, but I kept hearing people talking about it. So I was shooting a wedding in Tennessee, and it was like 95, 96 degrees and humid during like July. And I purposely shot to SSD just in case, to alleviate whatever heating there might be in the S1 Mark II. And it didn't overheat or anything. So, yeah, I do both, man. Like, sometimes I'm lazy. I don't feel like clearing out my cards and all that stuff. And my SSD has like 1 terabyte. I'll just plug the 1 terabyte SSD on there and just like shoot all day without worrying about anything. So I use all of it. No, I actually shoot S1 Mark II as A cam. I have another S1 Mark II as a B cam. Then I have S1II as a C cam. And then I have a D cam, which is the S9. And if for some reason I feel like just shooting shitty footage, like just like absolutely shitty ass looking footage as my like E cam, then I'll use my A7 V. What are your thoughts on the dad cam camcorder trend in wedding videography? I think it's dumb, because I could easily just shoot everything really nice looking with my Lumix S1 Mark II, and if I wanted to degrade that footage into a dad cam, I could. It's just that I just have a hard time purposely just putting my good image quality camera to the side and basically film someone's special day with like this creative look, like Super 8 or VHS dad camera, just because I want it to look a certain way. And then, like, what if that moment would have been much better captured nicely? You know what I mean? And, I'd hate to limit myself to that, because I can't get the dad cam to look like my S1 Mark II. But I can definitely get my S1 Mark II to look like the dad cam with some minor preset overlays and stuff like that. It will look pretty damn close. So I don't really understand why people would literally purposely shoot with that, especially on someone's like, special day, like one day out of their life kind of thing. That's just my opinion. I use a Sony A7C II. Any tips? What do you mean? I mean, you just shoot in 4K 60. That's plenty slow. Like, you need 120. Like, sometimes I think like I barely use 120. Like, all my B-roll and stuff, I just use 4K 60, and then you could just do like 40% speed on that. That's what I do. I mean, if you want slower, there's always like AI. It'll slow down it'll change your footage and slow it down, more than the frames that it records in. Gosh. The problem with me is that I get bored of stuff really quickly. And so, like, I'm always doing different stuff with different lenses. Sometimes I'll go film a wedding or something and I'll use like a damn anamorphic lens just because I'm bored of using like a standard zoom lens. It's really. Jeez. And it's tough too because it really all depends on what you're filming, and there has never been a lens that I like love so much that I wasn't willing to like sell off and keep. You know, I have a 28 to 70 GM um, f2 lens, and I just have it because I have it. But like in terms of like, I like the versatility of it, but like I don't really necessarily like its look. It's kind of sterile. Um, I think of Sony 55 f1.8 Zeiss lens. It's underrated. Uh, but I sold that too. I mean, right now I guess Sigma 28, 28 to 45 is up there in terms of some versatility, but like the look of it. Yeah, I can't tell you, man. I've been doing this for like 10, 12 years. I can't tell you I have like a top lens that, I can like just unequivocally say it's like the top. Um, in terms of like lens I use a lot, probably like a 24 millimeter f1.8. That's what I'm using right now. My advice is to just turn on the camera and just film and don't really think about it too much. That's what I've been doing. And apparently that's what's supposed to be working now today on YouTube is like this authenticity, like this real, no bullshit kind of content. Because now like well produced, well scripted, well just planned content doesn't bode well with viewers because there's too much of it, and there's there's a lot of distrust in like these clean cut creators, and also because of AI. So when you have like me sitting here with a nice camera, nice lens, nice lighting, and I'm just like, hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about this new DJI Action 6. It is like they can't tell if I'm an AI or I'm just a tube doucher trying to sell them some shit. But if you just hit the record button and just start talking, it's going to work for you. Not only for viewership and subscribers and followers, but it should also work for your schedule because I just have one key light here right now. I have a camera right here and I just set it up and I'm just recording, I'm talking. So you should be able to do the same thing. And it's funny because like all these authentic, now they're trying to push people to be more authentic. Like I've been doing this since I started YouTube, where I just was working a full-time job, multiple full-time jobs. At one point I was doing accounting and I was doing YouTube and I was filming weddings on weekends. Like I was literally working 80 plus hours a week. My daughter was born in 2017. My son was born in 2020. And I was always doing like content like this, but it's not like I grew. So apparently I guess now my content should work with the algorithm and what people want to see, but it doesn't really seem like that. So even for me, going forward in YouTube, I'm going to just try to continue to just, be real and, talk off the cuff like this, not scripted. And Obviously, I'm gonna try to maintain quality. But like in terms of, unless it's like sponsored or something, I'm getting paid. I'm not going to put like a ton of effort, compared to like what I would do for like a client. Like the video quality that I put on YouTube is not as good as the video quality I do like outside of YouTube for client work that I get paid for. Um, it just is what it is, because if I'm doing a video that's on my time for free, which is basically most of the videos I do on YouTube, I am not going to, go out of my way to put in a bunch of time, because I need to spend time with my kids. I need to feed my kids. I need to give them baths. I need to be a present father, husband, and all that stuff. And at the same time, do work that, I may not feel like doing all the time, but it pays the bills, like wedding films, corporate commercial videos, all that bull crap. But my advice, man, is just find something that you're really interested in and passionate about, and do videos on that. Um, like this niche, this video photography stuff, it is not actually like the best in terms of like monetization. Like you don't get a ton of ad rev, and when you do try to like get paid through a sponsorship, freaking viewers are gonna call you a shill and cuss you out and call you all these things like, you're just trash for you're a sellout or something like that. It's just like a very weird place. So for me, going into 2026, there's like so many new people coming in, and YouTube is not really prioritizing big channels as they used to. And so like you see a lot of smaller channels, like 2,000 subs, get, good traction on YouTube. And then so like brands that may have used to been willing to maybe reach out to me and sponsor my channel and send me something, they might not be willing to, because there's a lot of like lower subscriber YouTubers willing to do all that stuff for free, and they're going to get pretty good viewership, even compared to my content, um, with algorithm working in their favor. So like a lot of brands might not be willing to, send me stuff, because I'm going to demand, like, I'm not doing this stuff for free. So what I do have is I have a community, which is you all. And hey, like I am going to try to, make as much content as I can. But at the same time, it's very difficult for me to make content that I'm not interested in or I don't feel like doing. So, I'm going to try to balance as much as I can to like make content that I'm interested in, I'm passionate about, I want to make. And of course, it has to also align with the bulk of my subscribers. And these lives help, where it's like, hey, if I'm not going to make a video on, I don't know, DJI or something, DJI Action 6 or something, right? But one of you or some of you might be interested in that, in, me making it. And I don't, at least I can answer your questions here. Like if you don't need my opinion on something, I'm not gonna make a video on it. If you just want my insight on like something specific that I will probably never make a dedicated video for. If that makes any sense. Yes, I think the S1II is coming this year. And I think, if Lumix is not on the map now, like, yeah, the S1II is coming this year. I was just joking, when I said the trash footage thing. I'm just joking, man. But it's funny. It's usually the hipster videography bros that I see bring dad cam and Super 8 cam for the skinny jeans. Yeah, it's just, I understand it has a cool look and everything. And I understand there's value in, it's like shooting film and photography and stuff like that. But I think there's a time and place for that. I just think like a wedding, someone's like only day, And then let's say like the bride and groom's like, hey, do you have raw footage of that moment that I like hugged my uncle or something like that? And then you show them like a freaking Super 8 with like no audio or some bull crap. Like, and then what? Like when it comes to like run and gun event filmmaking where there is a lot of value in like clean, sterile footage, I would definitely just use my clean footage and then degrade it down to VHS or Super 8 look after the fact. Who has bigger camera? You or the Let Me Show You guy? Dude, Let Me Show You guy didn't even own a camera. That dude like just talks shit. You need to buy this and that. And like the guy is shooting on an iPhone. Like if it's a 1-inch sensor or triple sensor camcorder setup for weddings, it's actually great with a cam on. See, the thing about like these 1-inch sensor stuff, like weddings is notorious for low light, and if you're outside in the sun and everything, that's great. But like once you like get indoors, like it just looks like shit. Or you can deploy Canon and yeah, I don't know. I just make whatever I want to make. I gave up trying to guess what the audience and algorithm wants. I mean, pretty much, like YouTube is the weirdest place on the planet for anything because I would get good views in terms of like in the beginning, I'd post something up. And I'm like, okay, wow, like, that's solid couple of days. My videos consistently like die off over time. Even though I'm looking at like the stats and it has good click through rate, all like the stats that all like these YouTuber what do you call it? The those YouTubers that give advice on how to succeed on YouTube, and you look at all those stats, and it seems good, right? I have good engagement. I have a bunch of comments. Like people are blown up in the comment section. And I'm looking at my views. It's like it slopes off. I'm like, what the heck? I don't know, And so I'm just like you. I'm just trying to make things that I feel like making, because the reality is, if it's something I don't feel like making, I'm never gonna make. Like I was sent a damn like travel bag from PGY Tech. It's like a roller, and it's a great ass roller, and I use it, to wherever I traveled to, basically the second half of last year. And I was supposed to make a video for it. It's not sponsored, but like I just haven't done it because I don't feel like it. I'm supposed to review some lights for Suray, great lights, and I actually use it for client work and everything. I just don't feel like making a video for it. It's a very weird thing that I have a problem with, because at the end of the day, like instead of doing a video for that, I'm doing this live video instead. Like I could have done a review video for the Suray light, but instead I'm spending these 2 hours doing a live video. Like, call me a piece of shit, I guess. What up, APC? Agree on time saving when doing personal streaming. I use an Ozbot tail. Nice. But the Ozbot doesn't have this bokeh. Has this full frame 24mm f1.8 lens. My channel is about knives and DECD gear, which is the worst niche to do on YouTube. Is it? I mean, I feel like... I'm about to just start a freaking channel on makeup. I heard makeup does really good for ad rev. Giving people advice on like credit cards and stuff like that is also really good for ad rev. cars, walking around reviewing cars, talking about cars, good for ad rev. And then when you do have a sponsor, it's like for Viagra or something. Hey guys, by the way, this video is sponsored by Viagra. When you take it, your Asian 2 inches will become 2.5, and your wife will be happy long time. Stuff like that. And then it'll be completely fine. But on here, I'd be like, hey guys, I've been using this camera lens, this lens from Seven Artisans forever for like all of my client work. I love it, man. It is great. They finally sent me some money so that I could talk about it. They sent me some money. I'm sponsored. It's a great lens right here that I actually use every day of my life. I was using it even before they sent me any money. And then people will call you a shill, a D-bag, and all that stuff, So, matter of fact, that's where camera YouTube should actually go. Camera YouTube should actually go to those kind of sponsorships, like non-camera sponsorships. I guess like Squarespace is kind of like an out there thing, but like actually the strangest thing was I was actually reached out and was going to get paid to say something about I don't want to like go too deep into it. I don't want to like name brands or anything, but it has something to do with mental health. And I decided not to do it because I don't know. I just kind of had some moral issues with the company and how they do things. And I decided I did sign a thing saying that I would do a video because it's not like a product exchange. It's literally just like an ad read in the middle of the video. It's like an integrated video. And I could all of a sudden say, hey guys, by the way, if you, are having trouble with your life, there's this one. I just didn't really believe in that product too much. So then I just never did the video. I think it's no harm, no foul. Like I didn't take in their money or anything like that. But I think that's where YouTubers should start, or camera niche YouTubers should start looking for sponsorships outside of camera gear. Like anything and anything outside of camera gear. And those are actually easier to do because then you kind of do videos you feel like doing. Videos that will get views because you just know your audience, like I did a freaking review in a monopod yesterday that I know is not going to perform well. It just won't. And I hate to see that. I hate like doing good and all of a sudden like one video looks like shit. But anyways, like if I just got something like that, I would do that all day because you really just got to talk about it for like 90 seconds. And then you can just go on with your life and talk about whatever gear you want. That was like a complete side rant, but whatever. Video photo space on YouTube is generally speaking, like everything is polarizing really. Like, we may notice it more because, we're deep into this, we're watching YouTube, we're creating the content, whatever. But the world in general is really polarizing. It's just wild. But they're sending you free cinematic gear. You should be begging to shill for free. Like they could send me $1,000 product, and then after I do the work on it and post a video and this, that, and the other, like in terms of the amount of time I've spent, if I spent the same amount of time on a client, and I basically just did the work for free. So, good evening from Switzerland. Good evening to you. What are you doing today? Skiing? Is YouTube a business for you or just? I don't understand. It is a business. Because obviously, I get gear to review. I'm working with brands. I get paid ad I get affiliate links and I hate to say this, but like myself, I am kind of like a brand on here. So it's like it's a business, but at the same time, like my YouTube channel is somewhere where I could create what I feel like creating. It's like the only place that I can, and it's also a place for me to like voice my opinions where people will actually listen to it for some reason. Um, like I can't go to my wife and just start complaining to her about OpenGate or something. She's like, oh, this OpenGate bullshit again. Um, but it's like or most of my friends don't even do video or photo. Like I do have friends that I work with that do video photo, and I do text back and forth with them. But like in general, if I have something that's weighing on my mind, my YouTube is where I go. And thankfully there's people who listen to it and all that stuff. But yeah, not only is it business, but it's also a place for me to just do what I feel like doing, because I can't do that with clients. I can't do that with um, small businesses and what do you call it? Like wedding videos and stuff. Like this is where I could post stuff that I've been working on, passion projects, talk about gear that I'm interested in, helping people, and just voicing my opinion. It's my channel, it's me. So yeah. And honestly, like I expense a lot of stuff to the YouTube, because like if I went to go travel with my family, um, Jamaica or something like that, and I bring a bunch of camera gear with me to film, us being over there, and based on tax law and stuff, I could literally expense that trip, because I went there and I created a bunch of videos and did reviews on like a bunch of this gear for my YouTube channel, which the income is taxed on. So, how do you like the A7 V? It's a great camera, but compared to S1 Mark II, it's very inferior. So, save your money in Viagra. Not. I mean, at my age, 41, I'll tell you right now, like I'm still, got my telephoto. It's still working. I mean, it's not like it's not like a 7200. It's more like a 10 to 15 millimeter wide angle, but still, it is still working. It still gets to the maximum 15 millimeter focal length. But maybe when I'm 55 and I'm still doing this bullshit on YouTube, I would take a Viagra sponsorship at that time, probably. How do you market your services? I get most of my I get a lot of hits off of Instagram. I've actually had a couple of couples reach out to me through my YouTube channel. Like they happen to be couples that are interested in photo and video, and they've been watching my YouTube, and they hired me for their wedding. I get a lot from referrals from other photographers I work with. I get a lot from planners. And I get a few from like Google searches and stuff like that. But a lot of my business comes from like referrals from people I've worked with in the past. And the problem with me is that the past 10 years, I have not been the best at like networking. Like I would show up to like a wedding and I'm just into my work. I don't want to say I'm antisocial, but like I have a hard time interacting with people I don't know, that I know that we are not going to have any deep conversation other than the weather, or at a wedding it's like, oh, everything's going good. What else is on the schedule? Oh, these are nice flowers you made here, and that's it. you know so when I show up to like a wedding, I'm just in my zone. I'm making sure I'm doing my best as a filmmaker, a camera op, whatever the hat I'm wearing is that day. I communicate with my second shooter and the photographers because I have to, but I just don't do good with like small talk and I feel like there's no value to it other than for me to get a referral for next time. I just have a very hard time stomaching that kind of interaction, because it's not authentic. It's like asking someone like, "Hey, how are you doing?" When you see them on the street, and most people don't really mean that. It's just like something. It's like a greeting, like "Hi," right? But like, and then the person who answers that isn't really honest either, because I could have freaking tripped and fell and scraped my knee and freaking shat in my pants, and the person's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" "I'm good." We just walk off. Yeah, it's just like I don't want to. I just have a hard time forcing myself to like be friends with someone just for them to like remember to refer me next time because I was this nice guy and I asked all these questions. It's so inauthentic, and in a lot of ways to me it's kind of disgusting because it's like that's like the value of this human relationship. It's just for money. I don't know. So like I could be a lot better off. I could probably have a lot more money, be a lot more successful in business if I was just a better communicator, a better, be more personable, with people. Um, but it's like it's just putting on like a front. It's like a mask. Like on my YouTube channel, I talk like this. This is how I'm going to talk to you. If you're sitting in my car and we're driving to a gig, this is how I'm going to talk to you. If we're sitting at a bar having a drink, this is how I'm going to talk to you. But it's almost like when you're out there networking and stuff like that, you got to be all jolly. Hey, how are you doing? How are the kids doing? It's like the same thing as like, hey guys, I just want to let you know this video is sponsored by ShillTubing. ShillTubing is this company that teaches you how to make a bunch of money on YouTube by tricking people into buying gear they don't need or something like that. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean what shilling is, but you get the picture. Like I'm not trying to put on a face to sell stuff, and I'm not trying to put on a face like on the work site to sell my services again. Like ideally, and it has been working for me fine, is my work sells. So I go film a wedding or corporate gig, I post it onto my portfolio. Customers who are looking for it, they find my website, they get a referral from someone to go to my website, they watch the videos, they like my work, and in theory, that should get me hired. But the reality is probably 50% of clients I have that I film weddings for, they don't really watch my portfolio. They hired me because a planner or photographer that had worked with me before recommended me. And because they recommended me, I must be professional. I must know what I'm doing. And based on my website and like the 5 seconds of video they did watch would look good, they'll book. But like they don't watch the films in depth enough to like realize what I'm doing. Like they don't realize that I do light the receptions, I do color grade, I do film and log, I do tell a story, even though a wedding is a wedding, I still managed to like pull sound bites throughout the day and tell a story within a 5 to 7 minute video or film. That should sell my product, but that's not really what does. Like you gotta walk around and sell yourself through networking and running Google ads, running Facebook ads, running whatever, and look, also if I have my way, I just wear this to a wedding because comfortable, I'll film, but you got to look presentable. It's like going to an interview, you got to wear a shirt and tie. You could know jack shit about the job you're interviewing for, but if you wear a shirt and tie, you're gonna look professional. Meanwhile, like maybe a guy who does know how to do this job, but he couldn't afford a nice shirt and tie, he comes in looking kind of bummish. He may not get the same uh, opportunity because he's not fitting the society mold of what is professional. So like this year, like I realized I was dressed pretty well going to weddings, but like I've seen a lot of really other successful videographers wear like a shirt and tie, um, suit jacket and all that stuff. So like I have this year later on, I started wearing more um, a blazer and all that stuff just to look more professional. But at the end of the day, it's all a bunch of bullshit because the person who is the best for the job doesn't always get the job. It's usually the person who markets the best and just fits the criteria. You know. If they call you shill, be excited. That means you're getting the job done properly. Hate gets more eyes. Those eyes. I mean, that's true in a sense where like I noticed that my best performing video the past 2 years was one where I was really shitting on Panasonic, and like the like and dislike ratio was literally 50-50. So like I have like 300 likes and 300 dislikes, and that video will not stop getting views. Like the most polarizing video. But the videos where like I do get a lot of likes and only a couple of dislikes, for some reason they die off after a while. So it's almost like YouTube is encouraging me to be an asshole and make 50% of the viewers really hate what I'm saying and the other 50% really like what I'm saying, and then that's how I'm going to get good views on my channel. I almost bought that monopod though. It was tempting. I didn't like making videos like that, but I also didn't lie in the video. Like, it's a great monopod. And I will start using that going forward. Like, before, when I'm doing these weddings, man, like I'll be holding this rig like this. And after a while, I'm like, damn, man, like I really wished I had something to set this on because this is going to be a very long take. So I'm going to definitely bring the monopod now for that. And it's like quick, easy to set up. And it was free for me. So yeah, like that's what I try to do. Like, when they reached out to me, I was like, I don't mind revealing it, if you want to sponsor the video, but I don't really use a monopod. But at the same time, I'm at the point where it's like I need to monetize this channel. Like I'm spending time on it. I have viewers, I have some type of community, and I have, some type of quote unquote influence. And I think I do have a valuable opinion because I've been doing this for quite a long time. And then it's like, all because I don't use something does not mean that it might not be valuable to someone else. So if I could put my 2 cents on how it could be useful for you, then I'll try to do that, especially if they're willing to pay me to voice my opinion. So yeah, like that's how I approached it, and I ended up I actually like the monopod, and I'm actually gonna, use it for projects in the future. So. I mean, it's sad, but look, I got 2 kids, right? So it's always quality, not quantity. Okay. So Sony E-mount, they could say they have all these lenses, right? Like, oh, got all these lenses. But how many of those lenses are actually useful? You could have all the size you want, you could have a freaking log. You could be filming with that log, right? You got a big ass log you're filming with. And if you don't know what you're doing or you're shooting blanks, it's not going to work. So I got 2 kids, and, when we're actively trying for kids, I didn't miss. You know what I mean? Like the day we're like, okay, we're gonna, try to conceive, and it worked the first time. So my 10 to 15 millimeters got a lot of dynamic range. You know what I mean? Like it reaches far. It has good, it's good quality. It has a lot of 3D pop. It's got a lot of character. Does the job. Good fast autofocus. Everything. I thought you were gonna say 16 to 35. Then I'll be lying. Okay. I'm telling you, I don't bullshit on my channel. I'm always trying to tell the truth and be authentic on this channel. If I told you 1635, I'll be a lying piece of trash. Okay. So, I'm comfortable where I'm at. All right. I'm a male. I produce kids. My wife seems to enjoy the wide angle lens. So it's all that matters. You think Sony will have to release another A1? Sony does not have any issues at all. Okay. The community that is joining on them is usually the community that already uses multiple cameras anyway. So Sony has a very loyal fan base. They're going to buy Sony stuff no matter what. I'm sure the Sony A7 V has been selling like freaking bags of rice at your local Chinese supermarket, your local H Mart, Grand Mart, Lotte, freaking whatever you got going on in your city. A7 V is selling no problem. They don't give a shit. They have no real incentive to do anything different. Sure, there's some people complaining, but dude, the FX3 is still selling for $4,000. If they were really concerned about the discourse and stuff like that, they would have dropped the price of the FX3 to like $3,200 to match an S1 Mark II or something like that. But they haven't. They are completely content with where things are at. So they're not, I don't think they have any incentive to change anything because they have their minions constantly posting and commenting, posting videos about how OpenGate is overrated. So if you want OpenGate on your Sony camera, you need to tell your boys to shut the F up and just leave things alone. Like it's much better to have the feature in the camera and you not use it than not have it. Like I have a bunch of codecs that I'm, a bunch of like shooting modes I'll probably never use on my Lumix, right? Matter of fact, when I first looked at the Lumix S1II Mark II, I'm like, I'm never going to use 1080. I'm using 1080 right now for the stream. So it's like you're going to find uses for whatever, and it's just better to have it than not. And if it's something that's already in the camera as like a sensor, 3x2 sensor, why not just allow you to use the whole thing? And why are people complaining about it? Why are people complaining that, OpenGate is overrated, you don't need OpenGate, this, that, and the other, when clearly, regardless if how little the extra headroom is on 3x2 compared to 16x9, it's still additional. And me and a ton of other people are making use of it. So I don't know. People just gotta mind their own damn business and just, if you like your camera, just go ahead and do it. Stop like adding fuel to like the fire of, Sony. Just like, oh look, people don't really care about OpenGate. Look at all these people saying the OpenGate is stupid, blah blah blah. Like it's a waste of time, and they're never gonna do it. People will forget what? How did you start filmmaking? I mentioned this in my last video, but I'm just 2013. I was getting married, and my wife wanted a wedding video, and I had to go research a good wedding videographer, and then that's when I started learning about bokeh and like what makes the video look good. And then I got the video back, and then I bought my first camera, and then that's how I started making video. I was just in H Mart yesterday. Love that store. It's a great store. You know, it's a great what do you call it? It's a great place to buy nice, cheap food, things of that nature. Leica is a photography thing, and I'm not really a photographer. Like I take pictures and stuff. I can, you know, because, you know, composition and stuff like that, video, photo, it translates. But, you know, when we go places with my kids and all that stuff, instead of like taking pictures of them, I just film them because I want to make videos of them. And then if my wife needs a photo or something, I just take a screenshot and then I give it to her to like post a photo. Or, you know, when I was shooting on Sony, I was just shooting 4K, and like 4K, you could blow up 4K on like a canvas, you know, if you want to, like maybe 15-inch canvas, no problem. So I'm shooting 5.1K 60 and getting a screenshot from that. That's a pretty, you know, we don't really print out photos or anything. Like my wife just shares them on like social, but like 5.1K screenshot is like plenty for social media photo. You know what's crazy is OpenGate is not really technology at all. It's just shooting with the whole sensor. And Lumix has been doing this since like the GH4 or GH5 or something like that. That's like 2016. So it's nothing new. It's just using the sensor. That's not even like a technology. It's just the codec or whatever ability to use that. Yeah, I don't get what they're doing. And even if Sony does do OpenGate, like it's not going to make me jump back because Lumix S1II offers so much more than just OpenGate. Like even if they didn't have OpenGate, they're doing 5.9K 60 or 6K 60 anamorphic, like every kind of anamorphic D-squeeze, you know, that you can monitor on there. What I find really valuable is being able to shoot handheld anamorphic with the anamorphic IBIS, and it's not like all like jacked up wobbly. What they're doing with their codec, like the H.265, how they're getting the quality, the colors out of their 420 is something that I don't think Sony is going to do. They're just IBIS in general. There's, you know, monitoring features, like everything. You know, Sony has to do. Basically, there's just no way at the price point of a Lumix S1II is Sony going to be doing anything close to what it is doing. So yeah, like Sony's going to have to do a lot more than just OpenGate. Do these Leica lenses have autofocus? Their beloved brand gave them a rotating display. I don't know what that means, but like I know Lumix was the first one to make the full rotating display, and then Sony copied them when the R5 Mark II came out. The A7R, I think the A7R5, or I'm not sure, but Lumix started it. Yeah, I mean, I guess so, but I never said your camera sucks if you don't have open gate. I only started talking shit when other people started talking shit. That's how I always do it. I always just react. I usually don't start anything. I just say my opinion as it is, and someone in the comments got to talk some shit, and then that's when I become an asshole. But yeah, maybe some other YouTubers or something might have said like a little more serious about it. But honestly, if you're in 2025 and people are starting to value open gate and other camera brands are starting to jump on it, Lumix started it, Canon, other social media content creation type of cameras started doing it. GoPro, they even started doing the square sensor in the GoPro. Now DJI was doing 4x3 open gate on the Action 4 and 5. So that's 2 years, 3 years already. 4x3 on those cameras, and now they still do the 4x3, and they're doing the square sensors on the Action 6. iPhone is doing open gate on theirs. Clearly, people want it. Clearly, people are using it. That's why all these brands are doing it. And people who expect it is because they have been. Hold on one second. Yeah, sorry about that. My son has ABA therapy because he's autistic. Um, Autistic enough where he needs like a therapist to come to help him with stuff. But guy came early because he thought my kids are still on winter break, but my kids are still at school. So, um, where was I? I was talking about like the pushback. At the end of the day, if all these other brands are doing it, and there's a lot of people who invested a lot of money in E-mount glass, and they don't want to switch. They just want their camera brand that they invested in to add in features that other brands have because they want those features, but they don't want to switch because they bought all these lenses. And it seems like such an easy feature to just add into the camera. I think they should just do it. I think it's not that the camera is trash, it's the camera brand is being trash for not adding it. Lumix L-mount is my gateway into Blackmagic 6K. The Blackmagic update is looking really good. I see. And to your point, it's not a new thing, so why is everyone crying about it now, my GoPro? It's not a new thing, right? People are crying about it now because social media is huge now. Vertical video was not when Lumix started doing open gate, vertical video wasn't a thing. Like, I mean, it was a thing, but it wasn't that big. But now more and more clients. So before, people were creating social media videos, they're just thinking, if they're just making it for yourself, like me, I'll just turn my camera, right? But then now there are more people asking for vertical deliverable as the main thing. Okay. So I've told this story before, and I'll tell it again just in this case. I work for a realtor, and she wanted me to film vertical video. She wanted me to deliver vertical stuff because she's going to post on Instagram. It's like a talking head thing, just like this. I could have done vertical, but instead I decided to shoot in OpenGate 6K. Now, no, that's another important thing. There's a huge difference between just OpenGate with 4K, but OpenGate with 6K. So I filmed her vertical shot using OpenGate 3x2 6K horizontal. I framed it that way. She posted 8 videos, and the builder that she was working for liked one of the videos and wanted it in horizontal format for the website. If I had filmed that vertical video, I would have had to do a reshoot. I would have charged for it. But look, I have other stuff I got to do. I got kids and all that stuff. I don't got time for that. So I was able to tell her, yeah, I have the footage. I could do a horizontal, and I charged for it, charged to edit it. And that is why people are complaining about it now, because now more than 2 or 3 years ago, there is use for OpenGate. And on top of that, there's also more access to anamorphic lenses. And also now there's autofocusing anamorphic lenses. So before, people might not have been interested in anamorphic, right? Maybe OpenGate wasn't that serious, but now as more people are more interested in OpenGate, anamorphic lenses, and on top of that, you have like the new Tilta and Viltrox autofocus adapters for manual focus lenses. So there's even more reason people are willing to try anamorphic lenses, and anamorphic is obviously better when you have OpenGate. Yeah, again, a month from now, Casey's going to be, opening his mouth for that OpenGate rod. I'm telling you, he's funny, and maybe that's his thing, but he flip-flops more than freaking slippers in Vietnam. That's all he does, is flip-flop back and forth every other 2 weeks on whatever. And, I'm not hating on his content at all. I'm not hating on him. Again, I watch his channel. I subscribe to him. He's funny. But, like, I don't know. He doesn't do client work. Okay? He films himself talking on YouTube. He talks about gear. He doesn't even have an Instagram. He doesn't even do vertical content. So everyone is entitled to their opinion, but if you go to the gym and you're trying to get in shape, and there's this dude who's clearly jacked, ripped, clearly knows what he's doing, and he's giving you advice. Would you listen to him or some fat, sloppy piece of trash who bench presses and doesn't even touch the bar in the chest and goes halfway, and he's trying to give you advice? Who are you going to listen to? So you can advocate for any other feature, but asking for OpenGate is somehow an all clouds. Again, like, I'm the type of person. Okay, the reason why I use a PC, a laptop PC, and not an Apple, even though I do video editing and all that stuff, is because I also like to game. I play Madden 26. I play, what's this game? Ready or Not. I play Resident Evil on PC, right? I don't want to buy multiple different machines to do things that I want. Okay, because if I buy a PC to edit on, I'm gonna also. I mean, if I buy a MacBook to edit on, I'm also gonna have to buy a PC for my PC gaming. Like, why don't I just buy a PC that could do both gaming and video editing? So that's what I'm doing. So it's like there's nothing wrong with a camera that can do features. Like, if it's one thing where you can't demand an FX3 to do 6K because it just doesn't have the resolution for 6K. It's impossible. So that's a stupid thing to ask. Like, oh, can we make a 12 megapixel Sony A7S III FX3 to have 6K? But if all you're asking for is to be able to use the extra little bit of space on your sensor for video, why not? It's already there. Or like a shutter angle, these little things that is just basically like a couple of lines of programming onto firmware. YouTube tried to salvage Sony's image by mocking the benefits of OpenGate. Mentions of recording at high resolution were considered unavailable features at this price range. At the end of the day, there is no good argument against OpenGate, whether it's 3x2, 4x3, or I don't know, freaking 15x9. Even if it's like so minute. More features is better. Okay? Like, if it could be any feature, it could be something that seems so useless, right? The more they could put into a camera, the better. It could be freaking the ability to film in 420p. I might not use it, but some douchebag might want to replicate a VHS tape with his digital camera. Maybe he'll make use out of 420p. The fact that it's there, it makes it perfectly fine. The FX2 was a mistake. It was a massive mistake on the communication between Sony Alpha and Sony Cinema line, because they're completely two different like departments. And the FX2 coming out like a few months before A7 V at the same price was a huge mistake, because take out Cine EI and take out like other features like shutter angle or whatever from the FX2. The A7 V is objectively a better video camera. And honestly, the fan of the FX2 is almost useless considering how much shilling Sony and Sony fanboys have been talking about the A7 V's thermals, that the fan of the FX2 is almost not needed. The A7 V is a better video camera than the FX2. Anyone who bought the FX2 wasted a lot of money, and it's almost sad, because even if they wanted to switch to the A7 V, it's not a good idea, because no one wants to buy the FX2 in the used market. It's literally the biggest, most expensive paperweight in the history of the planet. He said RS was a huge problem. Yeah, like, so, people got to be careful when they make, myself included, right? Like, I made a video when S1II launched. I said I even made a video for OpenGate being overrated, but I was very specific. It was when you are filming a video in 16:9, and when you want to crop in to, for social media, it's overrated because the extra top and bottom framing, it just has a bunch of overlays anyway. And every time I had promoted OpenGate, I had to be really clear on my narrative. Every time I really emphasize the usage, the advantage of OpenGate, it has been 6K and 5.8K OpenGate, which is more resolution, and 2, it's actually more beneficial if you have to deliver vertical as the primary deliverable, and for some reason they ask for horizontal, you have it. That is the most benefit. And of course, anamorphic. But if you're just relying solely on, changing your horizontal video, that talking head video like this, to vertical, 3x2 is not that big of a deal, I think if you go through anyone's YouTube over time, you're going to see contradictions. It's just human nature. We change our minds. We learn about things, whatever it is that makes us contradict ourselves throughout time. It's just, sometimes I think people, they got an opinion on something, they really got to think, hey, like, am I serious about this or am I not? Because otherwise I just will seem like a flip-flopper, every 5 seconds. I mean, one could argue that, right? I mean, they have a lot of other cool technologies. Obviously, they make the sensors. The A1 was, I think, was amazing. They have the global shutter, A93, and all that stuff. But I wouldn't say like Sony is like a one-hit wonder or anything. Like, they're still a very viable camera company out there, and they're very capable. It's just, are they willing? And that's another thing too, though, is like, you can't just take like a rendered 16:9 video and repost it to 9:16. You really have to go back and reframe clip by clip. So, when I take a wedding video that I film and I repurpose it for vertical, I actually have to go back to the original project, redo like the aspect ratio, and I have to edit it specifically for that, and I have to reframe the clip, change the, recompose it and everything, like, you can't just take a rendered video and repost it in 6:9. Like, things just aren't going to fit, especially if you're composing like rule of thirds or something like that. Half the person's face is going to be cut off. I mean, 1x1 would theoretically, be the perfect thing to do, if you're going to be reframing. But I already knew they're going to do that. Like when they said FX2, here's the thing, right? Like, I look at those rumors, and a lot of people hate on that rumors guy, but like, he is at least most of the time like 95% accurate. Like, if he said that it was going to be, an A7 IV sensor, I didn't doubt it. You know what I mean? Like, And then when I saw it, I wasn't surprised, but I was just like, I don't know what Sony thinks, who they think they're fooling. It's an A7 IV with in an FX3 body with the Asian penis viewfinder, and then they changed the ISO a little bit, and they'll say like, oh, we tuned the colors, whatever, but it's A7 IV in a different body, selling for $2,900, and 2 months later, an A7 V came out that objectively is just much better video camera than FX2. So, yeah. And yeah, that's another thing. So if they start doing open gate in like their freaking FX3 Mark II or FX4, I'm pretty sure people are gonna start demanding it for the other cameras' firmware updates, and then now like people with their Burano and their freaking Venice 2, they mean like, hey, like why are we charging for this? Why are we getting charged for this when it's already included in your low end consumer douchebag cameras? Like I said, man, like Sony's gonna have to do so much more than open gate on their new cameras for me to even look at it. At this point, it's not even like worth. Like their lenses, I've been through all the G Master lenses and all that stuff. That's not gonna do it. Like, are they going to let you have all like 1.33, 1.5, 1.6, 2 times D-squeeze in camera? No. Are they going to do the IBIS stuff that Lumix is doing? No, they're not. Are they going to continue to give you new firmware updates that adds more new features and improves the camera the way Lumix does? No. Are they a company? Are they a company that is known to load up the cameras every time they release a new one? No. All their cameras are incremental. The updates from the original like S5 and S1 to the S5II, massive. S5II to S1II and S1R2, massive updates. Features. Like, just look at, as a company, clearly Lumix listens to what the consumers are suggesting or what content creators and YouTubers suggest them to do in their cameras. That's why, like, they're the first to do 5.1K 60. So it's just like so much that Sony's going to have to do, and to match pricing and all that stuff. They're just not going to, because one, they don't have to, because they're doing fine, with the business. And yeah, like if they're already making good money, like why fix things, that most users clearly don't they're saying they don't need, and they're completely satisfied with A7 V. A7 V is selling, so it is what it is. Honestly, if their lenses are so good, I don't know why they have to cripple third-party lenses from being able to shoot more than 15 frames per second photo. If they're so confident in their lenses being so good. I mean, yeah, we said this so many times, like once Sony does open gate, they're going to probably call it like, they're going to brand it like open sensor technology 3.6, and everyone's going to be talking about it. Everyone's going to be, oh yeah, this is so awesome. And then they're going to make sure all the creators advertise it as such. It's typical stuff. And I'm not trying to do all this stuff to hate on Sony, you know what I mean? Like, they clearly have good business model. That's why they're successful. That's why they're big. This is just part of running a business. You know, it's part of this is just how it is. This is how open markets work. This is, you know, clearly they know the psychology of marketing and advertising. The vast majority of people can't think for themselves. And I'm not saying this to like disrespect anybody, because that would be meaning I'm disrespecting 95% of the population. It's just people need to be spoon fed what they need. That is why this is what this whole live is about. They need to be branded. Things need to be branded so they know what they need. I'm a content creator. Okay. Here's a ZVE1 for you. ZV is for all content creators. I mainly do photography. Here is the A7 series. I'm looking into doing some more film and cinema. Here's the FX line for you. Even though A7C2, FX2, A7IV, A7V, you could make an argument that they're all the same camera. The ZV-1 Mark II, the A6700, and the FX30, they're really all the same cameras, right? If you didn't care about overheating, if you were shooting just short okay, if you're a wedding filmmaker, okay, who is just delivering 5-minute highlights, you're not doing like full-blown ceremony for clients, and there's a lot of videographers who do that, you can just use a ZV-10II and don't even need the FX30. You're going to get the same exact image quality. You're going to get the same exact features, 4K 60, whatever. Use the same lens. It's going to look exactly the same. But people need to be told the camera that is best for them, right? They can't look at a Lumix S1 Mark II and see that it is capable of everything you need it to do, right? You could look at the spec sheet and you see that it could do all the video codecs, right? But then you could also look at the spec sheet and see that it could do 24 megapixels photo, which is plenty, because a lot of sports photographers using A9 III, how many megapixels? These are like NFL, big money sports photographers. How many megapixels is that? It's 24 megapixels. So it's plenty enough for photography. And then you can do 60 frames per second, electronic shutter, 14-bit RAW with 1.5 seconds of pre-capture. Okay? And then you could see that it has fans, right? We could talk about overheating, whatever you want, but the S1 Mark II, after all the tests with the new firmware updates that I've seen, it is a 100% reliable camera for long duration shooting, even in direct sunlight. And then you could also clearly see that with the video capabilities, you should be able to be a content creator, you could be a filmmaker, you could be a photographer, even though it's just advertised as a Lumix S1 Mark II and it could do all these things. It is not broken up into 6 different cameras to be advertised for a specific use case. You know, you can do all these things with just that one camera. Like, you don't need to buy a ZV-E10II just for your content creation, and then I'm going to buy an FX30 also just in case I got to go film some wedding, and then I need to buy like a A6700 to do my photography. You should just be able to you could do all that with one camera. But again, Sony's business model is going to be more successful than Lumix's business model, because most consumers needs things dumb down for them because people don't want to look at spec sheets for themselves. People don't want to analyze for themselves. They just need to know, I'm a content creator. What camera should I use? I'm a photographer. What camera should I use? That is why in the wedding filmmaking world, the most successful videographers out there don't have customized pricing. They have packages. They have packages with branding on it. The gold tier package, if you're just looking for highlights. The platinum package, if you want a cinematic film with documentary. And the diamond star package, if you want a happy ending and you want, adult video with your wedding documentary. You want your honeymoon filmed. It's all branding. It's all bullshit for people who can't think, and again, it sounds like I'm saying that everyone is stupid, but the reason why it works is because that's just how it is. That's the psychology of it. I do not use an external monitor when I film weddings. I used to, and I stopped doing it with the Lumix S1II because I'm shooting an open gate slow motion for like 60 frames, and I lose autofocus subject tracking. However, I've been okay with it because the monitor, the screen on the Lumix S1II is so much better than what I've been using on the FX3 that it's been completely fine. Anyways, guys, I've been on this thing for like the past 2.5 hours, so I'm going to try to wrap it up in the next 4 minutes. So if you have any other random questions, you could go ahead and start asking it now, and then I will try to answer it quickly, or else we can always say peace out and until next time. Let's see, especially when you get into sports photography with lenses, it's a wrap for the panty boys. How so? How so, Photo Mike? Can you tell me? What is it that the panty boys don't have? You're talking about like a 7200. Talking about a 400 millimeter? Because that's all available with Sigma. And last time I checked, Sigma on L mount for the photography boys doesn't lose any frame rates. You can still use your Sigma and get 70 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 14-bit. So how is it a wrap for panty boys? You can argue that maybe Lumix photography autofocus is not as refined as like Canon or Sony, but I need you to clarify, why is sports and safari territory suddenly a wrap for panty boys? I'll wait. The only thing that is a wrap for Lumix in any way or form is that I have seen from some photographers that those people are dumb. And again, those people cannot think for themselves. Okay? They want the branded thing. They want Sony branded, or they want Panasonic branded. But the reality is, Sigma, dependent lens to lens, can be better than Sony, and they are definitely, some of them are better than the Panasonic ones. So there has been Sony lenses that don't perform as well as the Sigma version. Okay, for the longest time, the Sigma 24-70 DGDN, DN stands for D's nuts, was better than the original Sony 24-70 GM for half the price. And that's not even subjective, that is objective. You could do like all of like the testing you want. The Sigma 70 to 200 f2.8 DGDN, DN stands for D's nuts, was better than the GM 70 to 200 version 1. I did have all the G Masters. That's why I know that they weren't that good. Like, I had both. I had both Sony and Sigma. I had the Sony 24 to 70 GM, and it cannot touch the Sigma 24 to 70 GM DGDN. The original version 1s of both. This is not, the Sigma ones are smaller, it was sharper, and it was autofocusing faster. There is a reason why Sony is trying to protect their Sony lenses from brands like Sigma or Tamron by limiting them to 15 frames per second. They are crippling those lenses on purpose because they know people will buy those Sigma lenses instead of their lenses. There's a reason why Sony is doing it. If Sigma was so bad, if all these Sigma is probably the best out of all the third-party lenses. If Sigma was so bad, why is Sony crippling it? Yeah, there is something to it. This is exactly my point, is there is something to it. Sony do not have enough confidence in their own technology and their own lenses where they have to cripple third-party lenses so they could be more competitive. They could make more money because they know the smart consumers out there who actually look at a bunch of reviews, they look at sharpness, they look at, other factors in the lenses, and they will buy the less expensive lens if it performs the same. And Sony is like, we got to make sure it doesn't perform the same. And we're going to limit it to 15 frames per second. Yeah, but I'm not talking about Nikon. I am talking about Sony, not Nikon. Yeah, so like there's a bunch of things that Sony cripples third-party lenses from. And, if their lenses are so great, and it should sell just on its merit, but instead it has to handicap brands so that their own lenses sell better, that says a lot. So, it is what it is. And I'm willing to bet in the right hands, Lumix with a Sigma lens would perform just as good as any of those Sony lenses for sports. Because I think a lot of these Lumix photographers, they're probably not tuning their autofocus properly. I don't know. I'm just saying that I've never tried, and I probably never will try photography for Lumix, but it is what it is. Yep. All right, guys. So it is 4:00 now. I appreciate everyone who tuned in today and joined in on the conversation. And it's a good discussion. If there's things that I need my eyes opened on, like, my audio is trash and my damn overlays weren't working, I appreciate you guys telling me of my douchebaggery. And I hope, people get some insight on my opinions and my insights on stuff. And it's all in good conversation, good fun. We're all trying to, we're all, in this field, trying to do our thing regardless of what cameras we're using. So, you know, everyone's choices, everyone have their own preferences, but let's just make sure that the information that we provide is good information and legit information, and it's not just, shit talking. But anyways, guys, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I'm just using YouTube, and I'm just going through OBS to go through, so I could add like these stupid overlays with people's comments on it. All right, guys. So I'm gonna try to like schedule another one, maybe probably next week, maybe later this week, depends on what I feel like talking about. And I'll try to make sure I give people a heads up, whether it be on YouTube, on Instagram, like stories or threads or whatever. So again, appreciate you all, and until next time, lighten up.